Americans, then you got to kill them. He's like, yeah, then you got to kill Americans. And we've got the clip of this is from Police State for the rise of FEMA. We have clips of the police chief saying all the guns will be taken, everybody will be armed. Again, these are clips of this. Let's continue. But again, they start the PSYOP with make notes at the houses. Next is people in handcuffs. Here it is.
They say there are no orders to use force, just strong persuasion, sometimes entering open houses with guns drawn, and instructions to disarm anyone inside.
Let's stop. There's no force. They tell the troops, when there's no force, you're going to punch an old lady in the face and make her leave her house and her dogs die. There's no force. At the end, we're going to shoot people. They're like, okay, there's no force. I'm just killing people. I mean, again, it's all like these weird little mind games they've learned to train people when you're not conscious. We're going to go around and confiscate guns. That's no force. Oh, yeah, that's no force. Well, hell, it's all right for us to do this. Then there's no force. Back to the clip.
Guns will be taken. No one will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
No.
That happened today in this wealthy neighborhood where homeowners had armed themselves to protect their mansions.
Hit pause. Hey, the cops aren't here in the military to help you protect your mansion. And my point is, if they can do this to rich people, they can do it to anybody. Oh, we're not going to help folks down there in the bad wards. Our cops are down there robbing banks right now, on record, and in pawn shops. No, we're here to rob you. That's what they were doing. And then the military would arrest you, and then the cops would come in and steal you blind. This is on record. I mean, the U.S. Army, regular Army and National Guard comes in, and then the police and the feds loot your butt. Oh, it only happens in the third world. No, folks, it happens everywhere. Only America was different. We were never perfect. And now that hedge of protection's gone. So you might as well just bend over, I guess, because there's nothing America won't take. Let's go back to it. Here they come. Here we come to get some goods.
In the end, police took their weapons but let them stay in their homes.
Oh, nice.
They were a little bit threatened because our weapons were bigger than their weapons.
For many of the police and guard troops, it is an uncomfortable job to do this in an American city. This guard unit occupied a church, using it as a base camp. They had to leave a note because they could not get hold of the pastor to get permission.
It is surreal. Yeah, you never expect to do this in your own country.
Chris Montgomery says he'd rather be in Iraq than patrolling American neighborhoods.
Walking up and down these streets, you don't want to think about the stuff that you're going to have to do if somebody pops around the corner.
I mean, shoot in America.
Yeah.
By the way, the reporter that put together that propaganda piece got his face blown off in Iraq about a month later. So you reap what you sow, pal. You know what the reward of traitors is, don't you? Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't just brown Iraqis getting blown up, was it? One of you little precious snake men. And then you shoot an American. Oh, God, it's so good. Yeah. All right, those that live by the sword, well, you know how they died. And I feel sorry for these people, but I studied that reporter, quite snake-like. And there's a bunch of other reports. I mean, we didn't even have the one where the old woman, they come and they say, we're going to take you with us. She says, I have plenty of food. I got a generator, got dogs. Over here, I got my little gun. I'm fine. And they just go like, boom. It's like, you're not going anywhere, baby. You're going to a rape camp. We got sewage running and gang members everywhere. We're going to throw you in there. And your dogs are going to starve to death here. We're going to loot your house. Because there's no, and I talked to emergency personnel that were there. That's how I knew about them killing citizens with their families, trying to walk out on the bridges. Because it was all a big beta test, a big laboratory like Waco. And I talked to people, and I talked to folks who said that if women and children needed help, the troops and the police would say, let me see your breast. And they said, you want to ride out of here? Get on behind the shed. Can you imagine women needing help? And you're out there and you're like, well, let me have sex with you. I mean, what the hell? Maybe this country deserves to be destroyed. Maybe, I mean, you know, I mean, it is just, it's like pulling over to some woman who's got her car on fire, and you're like, I'll help you out here, but bend over first. I mean, who are these people? Where does this come into things? I mean, what happened? I talked to the people, and it came out they did this. They would demand sex from women to help. I mean, number one, who wants some woman who's been in the mud for 3 days and who wants to force it? I mean, they're demons, ladies and gentlemen. They're demons. And then they got Dudley Do-Rights going, it's surreal. We shoot Americans. Ooh. I talked to emergency responders like Charles and others that were calling me before it ever happened. He just goes by Charles, I know his last name. And he said, I can't believe it. I can't believe this big. He said, like, half of them were having sex with women and robbing people, and the other half were going, it's surreal. I follow orders, what I do. I mean, and the good guys just sit there and go, you ought not be raping her. You're not a good guy. You're going along with it. People are like, you're so exceptional standing up against this. What? It's called self-preservation. You read a history book? The stuff coming down here is cancer. I keep saying it, folks. There's no getting out of it going along with it. You understand? It's the worst of the worst are in control. The sky's the limit. They like screwed up stuff. They don't want a normal world like we do. They're not like us. You figured that out yet? Like the guy they catch with dead bodies in his basement? They're not like us. Well, why'd he do that? Because they're not like us. Why'd Hitler do that? Because he isn't like us. Stop being idiots. Stop being dumbasses. Stop being naive, okay? All right, I got to hurry here. Look at this, the Daily Beast, which is even a Newsweek propaganda outfit. Local cops ready for war with Homeland Security-funded military weapons. A decade of billions in spending in the name of Homeland Security has armed local police departments. Well, yeah, they've been federalized with military-style equipment and a new commando mentality, but has it gone too far? They always like, oh, has it gone too far? Oh, yeah, you're going to find out when they take everything you got out of your bank account. They're going to take what the cops got. They don't care. Kissinger calls military men dumb animals. All I can tell the cops is don't drink the water and don't take those vaccines. You know what's good for you. Okay, continuing here. Alarm as Dutch lab creates highly contagious killer flu. I remember 6 years ago, an Australian lab created a human pox that can be developed in weeks by even low-tech laboratories that will kill 99% of any mammal it's designed for. And I love how in this one it's like, oh, you got government-funded groups. They've developed a bird flu that's super deadly and will kill millions of people. But they don't want the ingredients, you know, how to make it released to the public, which is pure bull. That way when all this stuff gets released and the globalists go in their bunkers, which is their plan in their own words. You know, if you're a cop watching or FBI, instead of just saying this guy's crazy, go look up Club of Rome. Go look up Dr. Pianka at UT. Go look up Peter Singer. Go look up what they say, the UN. Once the world government's in place, folks, and they shut the economy off to get us all dependent on government and put in martial law, then they start releasing plagues that get successively worse, and they get more control out of each one, just like a banker bailout, until they kill 80 to 90% of us. I mean, I know that's crazy because, you see, truth is stranger than fiction. I'm not the one that says they're going to do all this. Let me tell you, I wish they didn't follow through on their promises. That's what's so horrifying. Every day I come in, everything I've said's confirmed. It's not like, oh, great, I'm proven right. Oh, God, our listenership's exploding. I'm like, holy mackerel, our listenership's exploding. That makes me a bigger target. Holy mackerel, it's all coming true. I wish I was wrong. This isn't a game. It's not entertainment. It's not fun. It's the real world, folks. But we're a testament to what really happened. Now, hopefully we turn this around. It's not too late. Here's another one. USS Scientific Journal to censor bird flu studies. That's out of The Guardian. We got those reports. And then we've got this little report here, and then a big final finale that one of our great researchers has put together, the al-Qaeda timeline, to illustrate that all this terror is fake. Missile parts accuse victim of U.S. entrapment extradition appeal. This is out of the London Guardian, biggest paper in England and Europe. And they admit here that the federal government contacted him and set him up to ship batteries to somebody so they can then connect it to missiles and claim that there's basically white al-Qaeda. Let me show you this article. He admits arranging the shipment of batteries from the U.S. and the Netherlands in 2006, a deal he said made him a profit of $500, but insists he had no idea as to their final destination and was the victim of a sting. And you ship some batteries, they just call them missiles. I mean, that's how these people operate. Now let me get to this final piece of news before we come back with our guest with more on tonight's top story. Al-Qaeda. Now, I asked the crew to put together a timeline, and quite frankly, Marco's put together, our great graphics guy, put one together bigger than I would have even done, but still small if you go through all the evidence. I mean, it would take hours to go through the connections with Al-Qaeda and the CIA and Israeli and British and Pakistani intelligence, as well as Saudi Arabian, which are all, quote, allies in the fight against terror. It's not saying there aren't real Muslim terrorists or groups, or Hezbollah out of Iran that launches some attacks. That's Shiite, separate from the Saudi Arabian al-Qaeda group. But our media knows the public doesn't pay attention, so they say Saudi Arabia, isn't al-Qaeda, but Iran is when they're Shiite, the arch enemies of the group. But if you look at the history of al-Qaeda, who set it up, Zbigniew Brzezinski's written 2 books about it, the National Security Advisor in '79. And if you look at this whole process of the underwear bomber being put on the plane by the government on record, and al-Qaeda being used against the Serbs, the Russians, being brought into Libya, it's amazing. So we'll start going to this timeline here while I narrate it. Early on, Hitler helped set up the first Muslim brigades, and then the West, when they took over the Middle East after World War II, they just took control of those. But it was reported by London Guardian, Jones Report, many other publications in the last decade that Osama bin Laden met with National Security Advisor Zbigniew Brzezinski when he was admittedly the main liaison to the Mujahideen for the United States. Other governments had other liaisons. And General Hamid Gul, who headed up Pakistani intelligence, he talked about meeting bin Laden in some of those operations on my radio show. So that's the first part of the timeline. Right there, the fact that al-Qaeda is set up by the CIA, and al-Qaeda means the CIA base. There's another one, that's by the former top secretary in the British government, Robin Cook, who resigned and died shortly after, saying the lies about WMDs were evil. He said throughout the 1980s, Osama bin Laden was armed by the CIA and funded by the Saudis to wage jihad against the Russian occupiers of Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda literally means the database, was originally the computer file for thousands of mujahideen. He was killed by this. Robin Cook was off for bringing this out, who were recruited and trained with the help of the CIA to defeat the Russians. Inexplicably, and with disastrous consequences, it never appears to have occurred to Washington that once Russia was out of the way, bin Laden's organization would turn its attention to the West. Well, it was done so they could take our liberties here and launch the wars. When you're a global banking cartel and want to take America's rights, give trillions to yourself in no-bid contracts and invade all these countries, you stage an attack. Kids understand Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Palpatine attacks himself to take control. Hitler blows up his own Reichstag. Our own government attacks its own ships to blame it on North Vietnam. So we've got that report. Here's another one. Alleged trainer of 9/11 hijackers, a CIA informant. So was the 7/7 boss. Turned out to be MI6, British intelligence. There's just countless examples of this. And then shifting gears more into the future, remember Kurt Haskell came on our show first and said he saw the government get the underwear bomber on the plane 2 Christmases ago, almost 2 years ago. And then later on C-SPAN, the government's, the Undersecretary of State had to admit, yeah, they were ordered to get him on the plane to by the CIA, basically. The State Department did indeed put Muttalib on the plane at the behest of an unnamed U.S. agency. Later, we turned out to be CIA. And then, of course, the CIA tells Congress al-Qaeda to attack in 3 to 6 months. CIA boss Leon Panetta told Congress today that homegrown extremists working with al-Qaeda, we'll cover that next, will strike America within 3 to 6 months. That didn't happen. The recruits will be clean and have no trace to phantom terrorist organizations, according to Panetta and other intelligence groups. That means cut out black ops who will then blame a patsy that looks similar to them. That's how the standard paradigm works. And then, of course, we were told the biggest story of 2011, voted by Newsweek and others, is the killing of Osama bin Laden, even though they released fake photos and claimed they buried him at sea, even though they claimed they had videos while Obama watched him being killed. Turned out that was fake. All of it was completely fake and has been proven to be a manifest fraud. And I've had high-level CIA people contact me off record and say, yes, it's completely fake. Continuing, Iran has now been accused of al-Qaeda's secret deal by U.S. officials, and they've had a federal judge claim that 9/11 was carried out by Iran. Well, wait, I thought it was Iraq that turned out it was a fraud. Or never look at Saudi Arabia with 15 of the 20 hijackers or 15 of the 19. No, it's Iran, and we've got to attack them. And they just got caught with that whole fake report of the used car salesman trying to attack the Saudi embassy in D.C. Just more manufactured garbage.